Imagine walking through the White House at night. The hallways are silent, except for the sound of muffled sobbing echoing from the East Room. You find a corpse draped in funeral cloth. When you ask the soldier on watch what happened, he says the president was killed by an assassin. Abraham Lincoln had this dream in the days leading up to April 14, 1865. While stories like this are often framed as supernatural prophecies, his vision suggests a different mechanism. Lincoln lived under constant death threats during the final days of the Civil War. While his conscious mind tried to ignore the pressure, his brain was processing these danger signals into a simulated narrative. These sleep events function as biological problem-solving exercises, simulating threats to prepare the mind for waking reality. Lincoln's brain was acting on subconscious pattern recognition, compiling data that his waking mind couldn't or wouldn't address. By absorbing the hyper-alertness of the war and the specific threats against his life, his subconscious simulated the most probable outcome. Other nightmares occur when the brain encounters a pure failure in reasoning, rather than a data-driven threat. These manifest as recurring paradoxes. Consider a recurring nightmare, a massive shape attempting to fit through a needle-sized hole. The reasoning center of the brain encounters a physical paradox it cannot resolve, forcing you to see something that defies logic. Because this nightmare is triggered by a paradox, it persists as long as the brain continues to search for a solution. The loop only breaks when the logic center stops attempting to answer the contradiction. When processing emotional damage, the mind can hijack the imagination center through maladaptive daydreaming. This occurs when the brain chooses a complex fantasy over physical reality to avoid the pain of a traumatic memory, acting as a primary defense. In other cases, the subconscious attempts to negotiate through healing dreams. These dreams offer relief from long-term pain, but only in exchange for a terrifying sacrifice, like jumping into an endless drop. When this negotiation fails, the brain may fall into a PTSD loop, bookmarking a catastrophic event like a car accident. In these trauma dreams, the brain is incapable of recognizing the event as a past memory. It treats the crash as a current, ongoing threat, forcing the body to relive the sensation of the wreckage. Whether through fantasy or looping trauma, the mind uses sleep as a tool to navigate unbearable emotional realities. Sometimes the terror comes from a physical misfire in the brain's hardware. Body horror dreams occur when the centers for physical sensation generate a malfunction. The brain generates convincing tactile visions, such as the feeling of skin separating into layers, or mushroom-like fibers growing within the muscle. A different hardware failure leads to false awakening loops, where the mechanism that switches between sleep and wakefulness breaks down. You may think you've woken up to start your day, only to realize your room is slightly different. The brain traps you in simulated realities, making it impossible to determine which memory is real and which is a simulation. This can escalate to sleep paralysis within a dream. Your mind is conscious and awake, but your body's physical safety locks remain engaged. Because the brain cannot move the body, it creates a demonic voice or a shadowy figure in the room to rationalize the paralysis. When the physical architecture of sleep fails, the brain generates rationalizations to explain its mechanical errors. Nightmares are uncompromising survival tools. While our waking minds try to avoid pain and paradoxes, our sleeping brains refuse to let go of the problems we haven't solved. So, the next time you wake up terrified, ask what specific problem your brain is trying to resolve.